Reporting live from Hypers Club in Atlanta for Hype Plus News, I'm John Abba. It's been 5 days since the nation would see conservative commentator and online host Charlie Kirk be shot by the now identified 22-year-old Tyler Robinson during a campus visit to Utah Valley University. Kirk, who was 31 years old at the time of the shooting, wound up passing away moments later due to a single shot to the neck by Robinson's high-powered gun. Now, because of Kirk's strong views that were labeled controversial and divisive, the nation has responded in many ways over his passing. On one side, some feel that Kirk's past statements warranted him a response like the one he would receive on September 10th, while others have went on to praise Kirk for his stance on the future of America. Now, those of the latter have gone on so far to praise Kirk that they are now comparing him to the likes of Abraham Lincoln, JFK, Martin Luther King Jr., and Jesus Christ. Over on X, following his passing, a meme would begin to circulate of a generated picture of Kirk and the men previously mentioned with the words, "all because of words," implying that Kirk and others were killed because of the words they spoke and not their actions. Now, outside of the mentioned meme, many followers of Kirk would express how they viewed him specifically as their MLK Jr. and would go on to push this comparison. One user would write, "I could care less how much negative hate and feedback I catch for this, but Charlie Kirk to Christian conservatives was our MLK. He was a powerful voice, spiritual leader, and a husband and father. You leftists may have silenced his voice, but you will never silence his heart." Another would say, "We need to have an official Remembrance Day for Charlie Kirk. He was born on October 14th, 1993. We need to honor his legacy and have a day just for him, his birthday. They did it for MLK, they can do it for Charlie. Please repost if you agree so we can get this done." And one more would say, "Charlie Kirk was the modern Martin Luther King Jr. He spoke up for people whose rights were being infringed, the conservatives in our speech. Charlie's assassination was a true turning point in this country, in the same way MLK's was. Pray for Charlie's soul and his family." Now, many would oppose against this because of MLK's key message of unity, while Kirk's message appears to be showered in white supremacy for some. Ironically, while he was alive, it is on record that before his shooting, Kirk was a strong opposer of MLK's legacy. In fact, he labeled MLK as an awful person, and according to reports, this stance was mainly driven by Kirk's viewpoint that the Civil Rights Act in the 60s was a mistake, and saw MLK Jr. as a reason for it getting passed.
We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk's self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. What inspired Kirk to shift his view on MLK? Why does Kirk think that MLK is a bad guy? Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right? Once a week we talk about why the Civil Rights Act was a mistake.
Now it appears MLK Jr. family is speaking up about the comparison of Kirk and King. On X, following the circulated meme, King's daughter, Bernice King, would directly respond to the photo of Kirk next to her father. She would go on to write, "There are so many things wrong with this. So many. I get tired, y'all." In her comments, King would receive both support and pushback for sharing her concerns. Now, outside of her checking Kirk being lifted up to the level of MLK Jr. and others, Bernice would issue a statement about Kirk's passing after his death. On Instagram, she would share the following message. "It saddens me that Charlie Kirk's children will likely one day view the video of their father being shot. No child anywhere should lose a parent in such a hateful, callous way. It will require much more than quoting my father for the United States to evolve from our current conundrum of multifaceted violence, tragic apathy, and degrading policies. We need mature leadership, compassionate action, and nonviolent strategies for thorough, sustainable change. We need inner work, community work, communication work, legislative work, homework. We need to stop the lie of there's no place for blank violence in this country. Because clearly there is a place, historically and presently. This nation has been a place for policy violence, mass violence, genocidal violence, gun violence, economic violence, and other forms of violence. And so here we are, a day after Charlie Kirk was shot and killed 24 years after 9/11, a day when people across the globe, including in Sudan, Gaza, Congo, Tigray, Yemen, and Ukraine, suffered the devastation of political violence, a day when the National Guard patrols the streets of DC, a day when low-income Black communities in Memphis are besieged by environmental injustice, a day to more urgently begin praying with our actions, with our collective call, and work for true peace, which, as my father said, is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. It is unclear if Bernice was aware of Kirk's criticism of her father, but her message would be followed by praise for taking a high road. He dishonored your father and you still responded with such grace and empathy that he did not deserve. Thank you, Ms. King, and your family for all your hard work in fighting for human and civil rights. Since our first report on the shooting of Charlie Kirk, his wife Erica Kirk has since come forward to share a message, and the man who is being charged for his killing is currently being held without bail at Utah County Jail. According to the governor of Utah, the shooter Tyler Robinson is not cooperating with authorities and has not provided any clear motive for the shooting. Some have went on to point out that Robinson's family has a conservative background, and according to that same governor, Robinson was in a relationship with a transgender woman, adding to the speculation on why he may have targeted Kirk. Kirk is on record with pushing back on trans rights, saying that trans people need therapy. Let's talk about it more in the comments below. Do you agree with Bernice King's response on Charlie Kirk being compared to her father and other praise figures? Stay up to date for the latest news in comedy, culture, and sports by subscribing here to our YouTube channel. And if you enjoy content like this, you can check out hypersclub.com to get a membership to watch full interviews and more original content. And if you have a story that you think we should cover, you can always send us a message at hypealerts.com. Again, that's hypealerts.com. Reporting live from Hypers Club in Atlanta, for Hype Plus News, I'm John Abba.